Hey. Time for another out of this world story from our space. I don't know what's wrong with this world, but I do know what's right with it. Today on our space, we let love prevail. It was a clean break for a first OP. How to ruin a 7-year relationship. Hello all. I, 25 male, recently discovered this subreddit and wanted to share my own story of being cheated on with a partner I was with for over 7 years, and it was all because of one college party. TLDR at the bottom. So some backstory. Me and the woman in question, 24 female as of the writing, met at the end of the school year field trip in 7th grade. She spent the whole day with me and we had a blast. She was the first girl who ever gave me those butterflies in your stomach, and at the end of the day, she gave me a piece of paper with her number and a little heart on it. After that day, we were inseparable. We spent nearly every day of the summer together, and that trend continued all through middle school and into high school. We were even voted most likely to grow old together in our senior year. We were that childhood sweetheart couple. She was my first for everything you could think of. First kiss, first love, first time, everything. I was vulnerable with this woman like I hadn't been with anyone else before. I let my guard down completely and poured my heart and soul out to her. Then after high school, I left for university in a different province, while she stayed behind to attend a local college. Our relationship was long distance, but we made it work. We talked, we Skyped, we saw each other when we could. Things were going well, or so I thought. When I returned to see her in November of my 3rd year, she was off. She didn't want to meet me at the airport like she usually did, saying she had to study for an exam. I thought nothing of it and simply went home, making plans to see her the next day. When I got to her home, she was in distress. She didn't want to talk about it, or even let me comfort her in any way. She had totally shut me out. It took over 5 hours until she finally came clean. She told me that she had slept with another man in a college party in early September, simply because they had played spin the bottle and she was a bit tipsy. Her words. I felt like I was drowning. I was the most hurt and betrayed I had ever felt in my life. And yet, I wanted to forgive her. I wanted to take her back. I didn't want 7 years to just go up in smoke. I told her thank you for coming clean and left. She was crying, but didn't say a word. That day I was a wreck. I didn't know what to do or what to think. I retreated to my parents' basement and played violent video games just to try and release some of the anger I was feeling. It didn't help. I told my parents and some friends about what happened, and they all tried to comfort me as best they could. By the next day, I knew that I couldn't take her back, that I could never forgive this betrayal. So I simply went back to her home, returned the promise ring we had exchanged before I left for university, and we never spoke to each other again. Looking back, my story is a lot tamer than some of this Reddit. There was not grand revenge or big reveal at a family gathering, no begging to be taken back or threats of suicide, no divorce in the aftermath. We both know it was over, and the break was clean, which I am very thankful for. If you're wondering how I'm doing as of this writing, it's fantastic. Met a wonderful new woman in university. We've been living together for the last 3 years. Best of all, in July, she agreed to marry me, and we're having the ceremony on the lake where she spread her father's ashes. Life's pretty good, so don't feel bad for me. Our first reaction comes from NC Deep Diver. There is nothing tame about your story. First loves, especially if they're with someone you have known since childhood, are some of the strongest emotions there are. Being betrayed by that person is beyond painful. It is devastating and life-altering. To be able to move on says a lot about your emotional makeup, and I'm glad you are doing well. Our next opinion comes from Aha, no you didn't. Simply because they played spin the bottle and she was a bit tipsy, her words. When in spin the bottle is the dare to have sex with someone. Good decision leaving. Well done. Drop Dead Fred 11 chimes in. Where is she now? Clearly some form of contact, friends, family, etc. The OP replies, honestly, I don't have any idea what happened to her. The only story I heard from a mutual friend was a few years later. The basic summary is she found another partner and was apparently very selfish in the relationship, and it didn't last long. What happened to her after that, I don't know. I ended up staying in my university province permanently with my fiancé, so I lost contact with most of my old friend group. Sorry I don't have more to report. I'm proud of you for knowing what no longer served you anymore, OP. It's not easy to let go and say goodbye to someone you knew, or thought you knew, for 7 years. It's not always this way, but sometimes, once you know, you just know. There's no need to put any more energy into what's no longer serving you, but to rather save that energy and put it into something worthwhile. I'm so happy you've been able to find someone else, and you're getting ready to spend the rest of your life together. I wish you so much peace and happiness. Be patient and compassionate with each other, and communicate always. Do you think Oki should have given his ex a chance, or do you think you made the right choice? Let us know a time where you had to make a difficult decision like OP in the comments below. Moving on, thou shalt not covet your wife's sister, right? Tell that to this next OP. I caught my husband masturbating to pictures of my sister. I, female 29, have been with my husband, male 31, for 10 years and married for 5. We have 2 kids and I'm due any day now with the third. I've always considered my husband to have a porn addiction. It's excessive, to say the least, but don't consider it cheating. I understand that increase in consumption because this current pregnancy has put a damper on her sex life like never before. But recently, I just felt like some things were different. He was rougher than normal the last time I had sex, and a couple days before was really pushy for me to be sexual during a car ride, neither of which are out of the normal on a typical day, but completely out of the normal for my 9-month pregnant self. 3 days ago, I found out that he was going through my sister's pictures right around the time he was watching porn and masturbating. I confronted him over the phone since he was at work, and he denied it and told me I was being crazy. I didn't believe him because the timestamps are all the proof I needed. When he got home, he was still denying it. That night before bed, I looked back at the timestamps and saw that he was switching back and forth between the video and her pictures. There was nothing for him to deny now. There was a lot of apologizing and groveling that night. He's adamant that it was a mistake, and that this is the first time he's ever done that. I find that hard to believe. Since then, anytime I bring it up, he gets mad at me. He insists that I need to move on, but I'm not sure I can. I mean, out of all porn and people's pictures in the world, you chose my sister. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's even considered cheating, but it's definitely wrong. I felt betrayed and disgusted by him. How am I supposed to deal with family functions? Should I just move on? Because I'm making too big of a deal out of it? I'm just really hurt and torn. Our first response comes from BFT CCC MBCC. A lot of comments about how using the sister photos is disgusting, which it is. But why is no one really talking about the fact that OP's husband is abusive? First of all, the fact that he is being rough with you during sex and pressuring you while you are pregnant is ringing the loudest alarm bells, and I'm genuinely concerned for your safety. It sounds like his porn addiction is spiraling out of control in a dangerous way. The fact he was masturbating over your sister isn't the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. He is emotionally and psychologically abusing you. Porn addiction, lying, manipulating, gaslighting. OP, you have much bigger problems than him looking at your sister's photos while he masturbates. You keep saying you don't consider it cheating, but that isn't even the issue to debate here. He's abusive to you. That's the issue. Staying with an abusive person who is in active addiction is so detrimental and damaging to you and your children. Having children with this man is not a reason to stay. It's a reason to leave. My heart breaks for you. You're so young. Still don't fall into the trap of thinking you've been with him for so long that you might as well just stay. This is a miserable situation that will drain you and turn you into someone you don't even recognize. Our next comment comes from Wonies Tontula. Porn is one thing. Some tolerate it, others don't. But he was fantasizing about your sister. This is a person he knows and can access in the real world. And honestly, a mistake? How the hell can his sister-in-law fantasies be a mistake? It's what is inside his head. He's a porn addict. This is the kind of crap porn addiction causes. I think it's time to make him stop. You're about to have another one of his children. It's time for him to grow up. Suspicious Weekend 284 says, he's right. You should move on by separating. He needs help. He should be in counseling and therapy. Ill-Tempered 1978 says, Oki needs to invite all the family, his and hers, then tell them what he did. Then tell him to move on. My parents aren't heroes says, I would be absolutely appalled if I found out my sister's husband beat it to me. And more appalled if I found out she stayed. DD4L1 says, OP, your wayward husband is showing clear signs of hypersexual behavior or sex addiction, which is often caused by a traumatic experience, extreme distress, or by mental illness such as bipolar disorder. You need to convince him he needs individual counseling ASAP. Our next thought comes from Calliope Gray. Divorce. It was not the first time, and it's likely it won't be the last. He effed up and can even own up to his BS and is annoyed by you hurting. This is not the type of relationship you want to look back on 20 years from now, and it most certainly is not the relationship you want your kids to grow up with. Pornography has always been with us, and it's always been controversial. Some people aren't interested in it, and some are deeply offended by it. Others partake of it occasionally, and others on a regular basis. It all boils down to the personal preference and personal choice. It's important to note that porn addiction isn't an official diagnosis. Simply viewing or enjoying porn doesn't make you addicted to it, nor does it require fixing. Addictions are about lack of control, and that can cause significant problems. It sounds like your husband needs some help with whatever it is that he is facing. Honestly, it's okay to suggest that he go get help, Oki, before the situation gets worse. This is salvageable, but you need to protect yourself first and foremost. Should she stay or should she go? Give OP some of your best advice in the comments below. Our last OP, will find love again. I have the papers. Is this right? My husband of 6 years cheated on me with an escort. Right after our marriage, he did the same. I know of at least 4 total times he's cheated on me at this point. When I confronted him and he finally told the truth and confessed to even video chatting escorts, I felt numb. He cried and asked me for help to figure out what is wrong with him. But I just don't know. I'm a 27 female and he's 28. I'm at the point where I want to be happy and start a family soon. I have the papers and everything for divorce. It's just about turning them into the court. He doesn't want me to go, obviously, but at this point, I feel torn. Is it the familiarity of him that's holding me back? I could use all the advice possible and/or experiences of others. I'm trying not to make an impulsive decision and want to make the right one. Thanks, everyone. We have no kids and are pretty successful. Our first reaction comes from a starry U Valley. He cheated on you 4 times. He will not change. Why should he? He knows he can keep getting away with it and you won't leave. Update. Cheating husband won't share his iPhone location. I'm finally done. I've been with my husband for 12 years total and married 6 years. We're both 28 years old. Long story short, he bought an escort in December and I found out about it in March. I asked him to go to therapy and try and sort his crap out. It took him 2 months to finally get only 1 session. Everything then blew up again because in 2 weeks, I found him masturbating in her bathroom because Lou would be all over. Granted, I was home and I'm always willing to have sex or please him. It made me feel awful. When he's out sometimes, he doesn't answer the phone right away. I told him last night, again, I would like him to share his location, sharing with me continuously for a few months so I can ease my mind and not pester him while he's out. He refuses and calls it an ultimatum. He's an adult male, so therefore, he will not. I told him I'm done last night. Those signed divorce papers are getting notarized today and sent out. I'm so thankful we have no kids. The person that hurts you shouldn't be the one making the rules on how to gain trust back. I will not be subject to this torment any longer. I've been taken for granted, lied to, subject to gaslighting, had my mental health dragged. All of this because I thought I could change the man that has a long history of cheating men in his family. I love him, but he's let me down too often. It's time to love myself. I'm worried about how I will love again. I feel like he's changed me in ways that will be hard to love another man or trust. I have always been faithful. I don't know how I'll be able to have a healthy relationship ever. Update. It's been 2 weeks since I left the cheater. Progress. 12 years in total and 6 years of marriage is how long I spent with my ex-husband, narcissist. You never thought I'd actually file for divorce and move out of state. I've never felt more at peace that he's 11 hours away. This man's covert narcissism contributed to my manic depressive episodes in February. I called the police on myself one night and asked to be taken to a psych ward. It was always me acting crazy when he would get caught doing something sketchy. I could feel it in my soul something was off. I didn't overly question him, let him have his free time, supported his crazy work schedule, and never shamed him for working so much. I would be there with a smile and a kiss at night. I found out 3 weeks after I committed myself and made good strides towards my mental health that he bought an escort in December on his way home from work. I was home waiting for him. I feel like such a fool being excited once he got home that day. I had no idea he just slept with a trans escort for $200. I was furious. When I confronted him, he denied it, of course, but I had all the evidence. Eventually, when I asked to see his bank statement, he said the transaction would be there. Now, this narcissist didn't say, sorry. He asked, were you leaving? This wasn't the first time he did this exact scenario. A year after we got married, he got caught and went to therapy. I couldn't even cry. Didn't scream, just said, again? While I was home waiting for you? I didn't leave right away. My mental health was the best that I'd been in months or years, but I knew I needed space and time to think. I didn't even tell my family and friends. The decision was going to be mine and no outside influence. Then the final straw came in June. I wanted to test him to share his location on his iPhone indefinitely, since I have been for years. He had a fit and said he was a grown man. I laughed and said, if he had nothing to hide and respected me at all for this relationship, you would do it in a heartbeat. I dropped the ultimatum because I was as dumb with the games and second-guessing. Share your location with me, or I turn the papers in and move out of state immediately. He didn't think I was serious, but I finally grew the mindset and wings I deserved. That next morning, I turned the papers in, finally contacted my mother and told her I was coming home and told her everything. He's regretting it, or should I say that he got caught and won't have the support and love I showered him with every day. I just wanted to share my story of actually leaving. It's been worth the peace of mind I have now. So beyond the grateful that you are at peace now, OT. Being in a relationship can be a very exciting time in the life of a man or a woman at any age. It can have you feeling love, pride, and like you don't have a care in the world of your life. However, when a breakup happens, it can leave you feeling hurt and confused. It's common to wonder if it's possible to find a new and satisfying relationship, especially if the breakup ended terribly. It may be difficult to think about finding love again. However, as difficult as it may feel in those moments, it is possible to fall in love again. Taking the time to heal from these experiences in life and learning to express your thoughts and feelings before dating again helps you recover from this loss. One must grieve and be patient with themselves in this process. Love will always prevail. We want to hear about a time when love prevailed for you in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, please let us know what you thought of today's content. See you next time on Our Space.